The Dose It Pencil podcast, May 22nd, 2026. 10 tips to get rich.
May 22nd. All right. Mercedes?
Yes.
Looking good as always. How's your Friday starting out?
It starts out early.
Yes. Are you adequately caffeinated yet? You ready for this thing?
No, I am not. I think I need cup number 3.
When you get that third cup of coffee, you'll be in cruise control. It'll be fine. Okay. So, in addition to writing video scripts to sell aprons, the other thing I've been working on simultaneously is building out the architecture for the new Does It Pencil courses, which are going to go into video production in a couple weeks. But one of the things that's really been on my radar is paying attention to people who have created wealth and what their habits are. And a lot of this has been documented. And so some of this might seem new to some people, but a lot of it won't. And I can report that some of these things, not all, but some things are things that I've done to increase my wealth as well. All right. So in the spirit of what was the Late Show, I came up with the top 10 list. And that's in the handout. And I'm going to take a couple minutes and just kind of give you my interpretation of this stuff. And take notes. As always, bring pen and paper. And then when I'm done with my little sermon, we'll open it up and we'll talk about it. Okay? So I've got 10 things here. And the first thing that I wanted to start with was what I called the answer. And the answer is akin to that magical phrase I've used many times in my past, begin with the end in mind. And that comes from the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the older I've gotten and the more I've studied and been present to this, the more I've realized that when you are looking at an element of your life or a goal or an aspiration or a project or whatever it is, if you can start at a place that I call 0 and look down the road and say, this is what I'm trying to do, some people might call it a goal, that's how the human experience works. It's less hassle, it's less distraction, which is a huge thing, I think, given the way our brains are conditioned these days. You've got landmines and missiles and everything coming your way as you march to your destiny. So starting at the end with this wealth stuff, what is the purpose? Okay, in other words, how will you know when you're wealthy? And so I came up with a couple of simple definitions. Okay, so the first one, believe it or not, is summarized in one word, and that word is freedom. And I define freedom under the banner of you're wealthy this way. I have enough money to do what I want, when I want, where I want. Now, there are other mitigating factors to that, not the least of which, as we age, is our health. But I'm just talking about the money part, okay? I have enough that today I can do what I want, I can be where I want to be, and I can be who I want to be with. When I can check all 3 of those boxes, I have what I would call enough. Okay? So that's sort of an esoteric, that's a non-quantifiable. Let's translate that to some numbers. So I did a little poking around, did a bit of research, and I've done this before. And the one-size-fits-all number in America for basic needs is $75,000 a year. And what social scientists have said is that you have to make at least that much. If you don't, you're pretty unhappy. Now, this would be under the banner of a family of 4 and, the usual American sociographic kind of things. But that's what they tell us. Now, if we take a little bit of a deeper dive by location, MISSISSIPPI comes in at about $90,000 a year. New York, well, LA and NYC, I'll put those together. These are lower thresholds, by the way. About $150K, and HI for Hawaii was about $200,000. And so people that do this kind of research say this is sort of the lower end. I'm not going to say it's the poverty line, but it's the lower end of annual income that people need to reach something called happiness. Okay. Now there's two studies that have been pretty well known about this money and happiness stuff that actually contradict each other. One study was done in 2001, and that study, we'll just say it's 75,000 adjusted 25 years ago for inflation. But what those people found was once we hit that level, the more money we make, we didn't get correspondingly happier. Another study was done a few years ago. It said, oh, yes, we do. I think that's a personal thing. I'm not here to dig into that box. But just to kind of leave this where it is, depending on where people live in their region of the country, it's going to adjust this amount a little bit, but about $75,000 a year to get a minimum level of happiness. Okay? All right, that's point number one. The second thing that I recommend people think about, and people have heard of this, but they don't really think about it a whole lot, is the rule of 72. And the rule of 72, quite simply, is the number of years it takes to double your investment in something. And the way you do it is you take 72 divided by your proposed ROI equals X years. Okay, so this is a decision-making tool. Should I do this or not? It's very simple. So I have a little example in your notes here. If you're looking at an investment that pays 8%, 72 divided by 8 equals 9. So that takes about 9 years to double your money. And then if you're feeling really rich, there's the rule of 144. And this is how it takes to 4x your money, to quadruple it. Okay. Now, I'm not going to give a time value of money lecture today. You guys have all heard that enough times, and we'll do some more in the future. Don't worry about that. But for now, today, these are simple things to think about. Okay, so as an example, I told you a couple weeks ago about the Legacy Group capital funds. So you can take 100 grand and earn 9% in that. Okay, so 72 divided by 9 is 8. So if you put your money in that fund, it's going to take 8 years to turn it into 200,000. That's what it means, okay? It's a simple rule of thumb. All right. My tip number 4 is to look at your money world in 3 buckets. And 3 buckets is a great analogy. Chris has used this analogy with his daughter. But I'm going to put the buckets this way for adults. Bucket number 1 is roughly 50% of your money, and that is for your needs. Okay? Needs like shelter, food, gasoline, medicine, just stuff to survive. About half your money goes in that bucket. About 30% goes into your wants. Wants would be like recreation, fun, stuff like that. And then I think that 20% should go into savings. Now, again, I've thought about this a lot. I've looked at the markets. I've researched the real estate markets, the equity markets, the bond market, all that kind of thing. I still believe that the one investment that provides easy access and the most stable overall long-term return is a no-load S&P 500 index fund with dividends reinvested. I still think that over time, again, easy access, you don't have to have a down payment. It returns just south, it's returned just south of 13% since 2008. Okay, the Great Recession as we call it now. When everything was going south from 2021 to 2023, the S&P returned 44%. Again, with dividends reinvested. Last year, it returned about 22, I think. So it's doing pretty well. So if I was talking to someone who's like, okay, I want more money in the future, I have no idea what to do, I would tell them, just buy this, set it and forget it. Future you will be happy. Okay. Now, I want to make sure that I'm also really clear about what I'm going to say next. I'm not saying don't buy real estate to a bunch of real estate people. Remember, my first rule was easy access. So if the conversation's with a younger person, and I'm like, well, you got to save up some money to be able to get a down payment, then they should have their money working for them. And I think that is the most consistent, reliable way to get those dollars working for them so that eventually they have something that they can use for a down payment if that's what they choose to do. Okay. Number 4, or 5 rather. Buy the goose. This is a mindset. Okay? And here's what I mean when I say buy the goose. It's a reference to the parable of the goose that laid the golden eggs. Okay? So what I mean by that is, if you want to create wealth, you need to own stuff. Real estate, stocks, bonds, businesses, whatever. And that's a mindset. And that's a mindset I didn't really adopt until I was in my mid-30s. And then I started to adopt it a lot more. And I can tell you it's the one thing over 30 years, and I've lost a lot of money and made a lot of money. But when I stretch that line of time out, being an owner has done more for me than anything else. And I can tell you in all the real estate transactions I've done, and I don't do third-party brokerage anymore. I think you guys know that. But I've done a lot of it in my career. I've always made way more money as a developer than I ever made as a broker. And that's because of being the owner. Now, sometimes you lose money too. I've had that happen. But again, when you stretch the string over the longer term, being an owner is better than not being an owner. And I think that's a mindset. Okay. Number 6, find yourself somebody I call a money buddy. All right. So what is a money buddy? This is someone that you have a relationship with, that you talk to about money stuff. Now, you can take or leave the advice I'm going to give you next. I don't recommend a spouse be your money buddy. Now, I'm not saying lock a spouse or a partner or girlfriend, whatever your deal is, out of those decisions, but there's certain barriers in those conversations that you wouldn't have with someone who is more of a stranger, and I think that'd be better. Now, I also put in there, not your financial advisor. I want to delete that. I think the financial advisor is fine to have a money buddy, but optimally, a money buddy is more of a peer and not an advisor. But the point is, find somebody in your life that you have open and important discussions with about money. You know, money is one of those things that people don't really like to talk about a lot, especially if one person has more than the other. It's very uncomfortable, as you guys know. So find somebody that's, within the guardrails of comfort and that can really help you as a support person to get both of you where you need to go. All right? Okay. Number 7, do your reps. Reps as in repetitions. My counsel here is very simple. This is a daily. This is doing one thing every day to enhance your financial well-being. You could read an article, you could make an investment, you could talk to someone, you could listen to a podcast, read a book, whatever. But the key is the consistency. And that's something that not a lot of people are super good at, and I know that. So what I try to tell people to get them to start creating new habits is make them really small. So on this money thing, if you are not in the habit of doing something for your money well-being every day, then just start with 5 minutes. But make sure you do your damn 5 minutes. And smart people plan this stuff out. Like they'll bookmark something the day before and they'll prepare for the next day's work. Okay, one of my habits, and I'm 6 out of 7 on this, if not 7 out of 7, but every morning I schedule time and I go for a 3-mile walk every morning. Now, if it's, raining sideways and all that, I'm not going to go where I usually go, but we're into the better weather. I went this morning. I went yesterday. I went the day before. I'll go tomorrow. And on at least one of those stretches, which is about 1.5 miles, I just listen to financial podcasts and things that have to do with what's going on in the world right now with finances. Okay. And there's a lot going on. There's a hell of a lot going on. There's always something out there. There's always somebody who wants to tell you something. Believe me. But that's just one example of making a daily commitment. And if you can do it, like, for example, while you're on a walk, that's synergy. Okay, so that's a good thing too. All right. Number 8, and this is for salespeople. And I'm going to raise my hand first and say, I have not been the best on this in the last few months, and I am recommitting today to getting back on this. And it's a very, very simple rule. It goes like this. Contact 3 strangers every day. 3. 3 people you've never met, 3 people you've never talked to. Typically for people in sales, this would be known as a cold call. And look, I've been in sales for 40 plus years. Nobody likes to cold call. Even people that are good at it don't like to do it. But everybody here knows if you do it, it works. And the problem with a funnel-shaped business, which is what sales is as you work your transactions through a funnel, whether you're selling aprons or land or houses, it doesn't matter. It all works the same way. Eventually, either the deal closes or it doesn't. But if you don't keep filling back up the top, then you got to start all over again. Okay? So this is another daily consistent. Contact 3 strangers every day. Now, you may not get a hold of them all. We know how that goes. But at least try. Okay? If you can do that, you will always have work. You will always have money. You will always be in demand. And you will never have to search around for rerun soundtracks of I Dream of Jeannie like I had to do. Okay? Now, the simple math works like this. If I say to you, I want to make $100,000 this year, and there's 2,000 working hours in a year, and actuarially, there is. Actuaries are people that count this stuff. That means that my time is worth $50 an hour, 50. Okay? So the question becomes this. Why am I doing $10 an hour work if I really believe that my value, my worth, is $50 an hour? That's the simple math. Okay? I have met some hugely successful and enormously wealthy people, but I've never met one person who checks those boxes that works by themselves. There's always someone or some ones around them, typically to handle the admin part of the work. And again, I've done this from time to time throughout my career. I'm not standing up here and going, look at me, I'm the perfect example. I'm not the perfect example, but I do think about leverage a lot. And it's a large part of the way that I make decisions about investing and how I'm going to handle the money part of my life. And look, even today, we got, 12 people here, something like that. I mean, I know you guys are, anyway, doesn't matter. But my point is, I could do the exact same thing for one person or for 50 people. What's better for me, right? That's leverage, okay? My little sewing business that I own, okay? I have 4 people that work for me. And it won't happen this week, but most weeks, I make my most money, I should say most weeks, throughout the month, I make my most money, profit to me, off of the work that they do. That's leverage. Okay, that's having other people work and then you figuring out a system or a way or an add to the billing or however you do it to make a little off the top. So Roger, you were a practicing attorney. I'm assuming that you had, I don't know anything about your practice, but did you have paralegals in your firm at one point?
I never had paralegals. I had staff. I had basically a legal secretary, legal assistant.
Let me ask the question this way. Is it not uncommon for an attorney to have a paralegal and pay that person, say, $50 an hour and bill them out at 100? Is that happens all the time? Right?
I did that. Yeah, it's very.
Okay. So that's making $50 a head in my example off of somebody else's labor. That's leverage.
I've been that person who was billed out.
Yeah. Well, I have too. You got to start somewhere. Okay, last one. Number 10. And obviously I believe in this or I wouldn't be doing it. I think each one of us should adopt the mindset of being a teacher. And here's what I mean by that specifically. Pick one thing that you understand or that you're interested in. And I have brought a variety of topics to these calls, as you well know, but I'll just give an example. So I talked today about the S&P 500, okay? What I mean by teaching is maybe you mentor a young person. Maybe you go to doesitpencil.com/retirement, you download that spreadsheet, and you put together 5 minutes of jibber jab, and you go find that young person and you go, look, I want to talk to you about you 30 years from now, okay? If you do this, here's what's going to happen. That's teaching. It's very simple. I've already given you everything you need to do. But if you do that, a couple things are going to happen. One is this. You will know what you're talking about before you go talk to somebody else about it, hopefully. So it's a reinforcement for you to reinforce your own education. That's the first thing that I think teaching does. The second thing is this. I talked at the beginning about beginning with the end in mind, okay, and the happiness threshold and all that kind of thing. Most people that I've ever met, and I would include myself in this next statement, get the most joy in life from giving something to somebody else. And that's what teaching is. And sometimes you get paid for it and sometimes you don't. Why do I do this every week? Because I feel like I'm doing something important and I like you guys and I like doing this. It makes me happy, so I do it. It's not complicated. But I want you guys to think about this teaching thing. Okay, now I've talked a lot about young people, so they're an easy target. But it doesn't have to be young people, it can be anybody. But just think about that, you know? I mean, I used to have this guy in my office. I can't remember his name. I can see his face. But he came to Does It Pencil like 5-6 times. And I was like, he's like, oh, it gets better every time. I'm like, okay, a turkey sandwich. Anyway, so this guy worked for a fairly large office in Metro Seattle. And one of the things I used to tell my live audiences was, Take a piece of this and go to a sales meeting and teach somebody how to do it. I don't care what it is. Time value of money, APOD, IRR. You got 10,000 things here. Just, they're always looking for somebody to talk about something. And if it can be within the group, that's even better. So he comes to Does It Pencil for like the 5th time. He's like, Joe, I got to talk to you. I said, okay, what's up? He goes, oh, I took your advice. I go, which advice was that? He goes, oh, I taught during the sales meeting. I go, awesome. How'd it go? He goes, dude, I need your help. I got 5 people that want to bring me deals and I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, well, that's a double-edged sword. So, but the point is, he stood up in front of his peer group and said, I have something to say that might be of value to you. Well, it turns out there were 4 or 5 people in that population of probably 30 to 40 people who did need that help and didn't know where to go to get it. Suddenly he shows up and says, I can help. And he made money off of it. I made a little too because he referred it to me, but that's fine. Okay, so to review. Number 1, know your number. Know about happiness. Number 2, these simple rules of 72 and 144, these are simple decision-making tools about doubling, quadrupling your money. And even if you never use them, just try them out a couple times, just kind of know they exist. Number 3, and I believe a lot in this notion of 3 buckets, like I'm approaching my financial life, that I have different needs that I need to take care of with my global income, okay? Needs, wants, and savings. Okay? And by the way, Matthew, tell your daughter I told you to tell her that. I'm assuming she's like 22 or 23, somewhere in there. But wait a minute, you're like 35, so she couldn't be that young. You sure she graduated from college? Okay. I gotcha. Okay, number 5, be an owner. Buy the gooses. Own stuff. Real estate, stocks, businesses, I don't care. That's a mindset. Find a money buddy, someone that you get along with and hopefully are within kind of like the same socioeconomic tier, or a financial advisor that you can kick around these ideas about money and build a friendship that way. Pick something you can do every day. 5 minutes to enhance your money knowledge, your money stuff. Salespeople, get a hold of 3 strangers a day. Get yourself some leverage and teach someone else how to do something. Those are my 10 best tips. And I think they work. Doesn't matter what age you are, doesn't matter who you are, we can all start. We can start today. That's what I got.
I missed out on number 4. I don't know what we have.
Number 4, that was the 3 buckets. The mindset. Oh, my tablet's running out of juice here. Sorry. It's on your handout. So what I meant is, in your global money life, approach your money this way. About half of it should go to taking care of your basic needs. Housing, food, transportation, medicine, that kind of thing. That should be about half your money, okay? 30% of your money should be things that you want to do, okay? Buy a new pair of shoes, go on vacation, see a movie, whatever. And then the last 20%, I think, should be in some form of savings. And what I recommended as the lowest barrier to entry and the most consistent return over at least the last 20 plus years has been a no-load S&P 500 index fund with dividends reinvested. That's probably the best 7-minute video you've seen all day, right? Well, if you want to see the rest of it and the rest of all the webinar videos, get access to all the handouts, and be a part of our group, then join the Does It Pencil Society. It's just $5 a month. You can cancel it anytime. And you can also listen to all the audio on our Spotify channel. Just type in Does It Pencil.